talking about centerline, there's kind of like, there's a couple of centerlines. You could say there's 3 centerlines really to consider. The first one is down the middle of the body, down the center of the body. It's about 2 inches wide. This is known as your Cheongsum seam. The Cheongsum seam is your central heart line. It's down the middle of the body. That's kind of like what we'd attack for, because what you'll find is that if you imagine this line going down the center, it covers all the kind of vital organs. You've got the eyes, nose, heart, throat, knees are also said to be included in this, the groin of course. Bearing that in mind, you put your hands out like this for me, if you would, yeah. If I hit to the side of that line, 2 things are always going to happen. The first one is, well, you'll see actually. So if I hit to the side here, that's great. The first thing is that he takes the impact. The second thing is, I'm going to feed that onto myself. Here, so I don't really want to be doing that. If I aim for the centre line, then the full impact is going to be taken, thank you, and all the damage down the vital organs. Now we don't necessarily always have to attack for that, but we do always have to protect that. Because if you come in with a punch, any old thing, doesn't matter that I'm around here, I'm not going to try to get round to a favourable position. There's still lots of things that I can attack with from here. And that brings us on to the second line. So the Cheongsum seam, central heart line, is what you defend. The Seum seam is what you attack now. The Seum seam is your meridian line. And you think of this as like your attacking line, really. If you imagine a line from the top of your head to the top of your opponent's head, that basically is where we should be attacking, because it's the shortest distance between 2 points. So that's where I want to hit. If he comes off of that line, if he comes down with a hook punch for instance, this is going to take a lot longer to come around, and I can strike down the centre. There's a good saying with this: others walk the bow, I walk the string. So that's what we're after with this. Now, considering that line between his head and my head, the Seum seam, try and imagine that a little bit like if I was holding a torch on my head and I'm shining a torch up and down his body. As a Wing Chun practitioner, he chooses to stand square on. That's the reason why my torch beam is going to light those vital organs, and that's the reason he's going to have to protect that centre line. Now, if you stand sideways on, let's say we were kind of some boxing or different styles or whatever it might be, then our kind of, let's say your row of buttons is now not facing toward each other. So our centre line has moved from dead centre across to now on the side of the body, because this is now what the line is dictating, or the torch beam is going to now light up. So again, if he's shining a torch beam at my body and he's shining it up and down, it's going to be lighting up the side of my body. Now, a lot of styles will tend to adopt a side-on stance, and the reason for this is because you present a smaller target, but the trade-off is that you lose one of your weapons. For that reason, that's why in Wing Chun we want to stand square on. However, if I change from my side-on stance, smaller target, less weapons, if I change from here to square on, now that torch beam is going to be lighting the front of my body. Once again, that means that's why I've got to defend it. So the Cheongsum seam is your central heart line. That's the one that you're probably going to have to defend if you're standing square on. The Seum seam, the meridian line, is the attacking line, basically. And pretty much, if he's not attacking down that line, then he's missed. So he's going to miss, because he's not going down that centre line. If I go around that centre line, it's going to be a lot faster for him with his left hand to punch straight down centre than it is for my right to go all the way around. So this again is a reason why we'll use the straight line principles to follow the shortest path. There's one more line as well that sometimes people refer to, and this is the Jig seam. Now, Jig seam basically is just straight line. That's what Jig seam is. But we can think of this in a Wing Chun sense of having a line going straight down through the top of his body. So we turn him into kind of a rotisserie, a kebab, basically. So if you imagine a line going straight down the top of his head, this is going to be the line that he can turn on, he can revolve on. Now, the reason why I'm going to refer to that one is, if you stand sideways, let's imagine that this is his chest and this is his back. So just turn your head toward me, if you will, to help the illusion. When I punch, we punch to surface area. It doesn't mean that we actually punch and stop just there. If I was doing a more muscular style, if I was doing something like karate or whatever, maybe I'm going to push all the way through with my strike. As I push through, that pushing through would mean that he would move back. So we don't want to do that. The reality that we're actually going to get is, we want to try, as I hit his chest, I don't want to push all the way through to his back, but I want the energy to continue to his centre. Now, again, I'm not going to just hit surface here and hope that that's going to happen. The reality of this is that I'm going to be punching in a little bit. The shock wave of this, a little bit like when you drop a pebble in a pond, will continue on toward the centre. So if you turn to face me, I don't want to hit just centre here, because it's not really going to do anything. I need to punch and go in just a little bit with the force. I need to penetrate a little bit and let the shock wave continue a little bit. Can I give you a little tweak? So from here, I'm going to drive there. So we feel that little bit of a tweak. So you felt that, obviously. Yeah. Now, that jig scene, I want you to look at it this way. You could say that your skill level depends on how small you can make this jig scene. Because if I have a jig scene the size of a beer barrel, and I put that over Alex, well, in theory, now I'm hitting that jig scene. If I make that smaller to something like a telegraph pole, then now I'm hitting the jig scene. But if I make that smaller still to a knitting needle or a pool cue going straight down the middle, then I need to drive in a little bit. So your three lines that we can use. You have the Cheongsam scene, the central heart line that I need to protect. Give me a punch if you will. That I'll defend. The same scene, the meridian line that I'm going to attack down. And then, because also that torch beam that I'm now shining down the side of his body will present different targets to me. The temple, the neck, underneath the arm, the knee, ankle, the hips, all of these different targets for me really. But when I hit, I don't just want to hit surface. I don't want to push all the way through. I want to make sure that my attacking power will affect the jig scene halfway into the body. So this, and that will also prevent me from overcommitting with my techniques. So that basically is how we sum up your three centre lines. Cheongsam scene, which we protect in Sulan Town, first form, little idea form. The same scene, the meridian line, which we get used to driving down. And the jig scene, which is how much power and where we're going to use that power when we apply it. I hope that makes a little bit of sense to you. Alex, thanks again. Thank you.